Welcome to Sounding Board. This is a weekly program produced by club members of Soroptimists International of Novato. The mission of the organization is to improve the lives of women and girls through programs leading to social and economic empowerment. My name is Carol Bennett, and I'm today's moderator. Our topic today is LITA Marin. LITA, L-I-T-A, which stands for Love is the Answer, which is a lovely response to loneliness is the problem. Our guests today are Eric Flatt and George Erickson. Both of them are LITA members, and Eric is the executive director of Drake Terrace. Welcome today.
Thanks for having us.
So first, I'm going to address Eric and tell us exactly what is LITA. When I was first knowledgeable of it, I was confused. Is it an agency, an organization, a service? What exactly is it?
Yeah, first of all, Carol, thanks for having us here today to discuss LITA. I know it's something that George and I feel very passionate about, and we're excited to get a chance to talk about the organization. LITA is a small nonprofit here in Marin County with the goal and mission of improving the quality of lives for seniors living in senior living communities. So that could be a skilled nursing, that could be assisted living, dementia care, or even a board and care. And really ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to pair volunteers and those that would like to spend some time with some lonely, isolated seniors, with those that could use that type of companionship in their lives. We've got a couple of different programs that we're running. First and foremost, it's one-to-one volunteers. So general commitment of an hour a week where you're going to come into a senior living.
One-to-one, that means you need a lot of volunteers then, right?
We do need a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
We've got over 300 volunteers currently, and we could use a lot more. So we've got one-to-ones. We also have a pet therapy program. So volunteers that are going to bring their certified pet therapy animals into communities to visit either one-to-one or with groups. We also have an intergenerational program where we actually currently have 8 elementary school classes that are being brought into senior living communities. So that's once a month for the entire school year. And then we've got some other new programs that we're working on. One would be a music program that we're hopefully going to be starting in the future.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, George and I have talked a little bit, and we have had issues with our moms, and both of our moms are passed now. But at the one time I was thinking of my mom was in a very small care facility, and she got pretty lonely, and I was working during the day and wasn't able to visit her. So how would I have gone about had I known about it, but maybe it didn't even exist then? I don't know. Tell me about how I would have gone about connecting with you.
Sure. Either yourself or the staff of the senior living community where somebody lives could contact LITA. The best way to get a hold of LITA is through our website, and that would be litamarin.com. On the website.
L-I-T-A Marin, no spaces, no hyphens, or anything.
Correct.
.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
www.litamarin.com.
Good.
And there you can, there's a couple of tabs that you can navigate towards. There's a tab that talks a little bit about what the orientation process would be like. There's obviously different ways to get a hold of us. There's a small short video that we have on there that introduces the organization. So really getting a hold of us through the website is the best way. So either you can call on your own, or somebody who works at the senior living community could call. And really that's what gets the ball started.
Okay. George, tell us about your mom.
Yes, thank you, and again, thank you for having me here. You know, my mother was 94 years old when she passed away in January, and she was at home. And, you know, before we got a caregiver for her, you know, she would lived alone, and she would call me constantly to see what I was doing, if I was going to come by, and I would go by and spend a couple of hours with her. And then when I said, Mom, I got to get going, she would then say, oh, do you have to leave right now?
So these are all the classic symptoms of loneliness.
Of loneliness, yes. And I remember holidays like Thanksgiving, she would call me a week ahead of time and say, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And I would say, Mom, would you like to come and spend Thanksgiving with us? She said, oh, yes.
Yeah.
When can you pick me up? And she would spend 2 weeks with us. So I saw this growing loneliness, a need to have a companion or someone that she could relate to, someone on a long-term basis that got to know her. And, you know, when she got a caregiver, it kind of ended. Had I known that there was an organization like LITA. I would have contacted them and said, you know, can you help my mom to, you know, have some companionship, visit her, talk with her, etc., build a long-term relationship with her, you know, and that's what kind of drew me to LITA. You know,
right. And how long have you been on the board?
I've been on the board for about a year.
A year.
Yes, and
tell us about the background, how it got started. How did LITA get started?
LITA got started in 1975.
Wow.
You know, I don't know exactly who started it, but I think it kind of started off of a kitchen table thing, and it grew into what it is. It's been around for 42 years.
Wow.
You know, and I think that you know, programs like this would help to make people aware of what LITA does, what a valuable service they provide. And you know, the short story I told you about my mother, I think my mother probably would have been better off and not be lonely and sit and watch TV at night and call me every 5 minutes, am I coming by, you know, if she had a regular scheduled visit.
Yeah.
So, you know, expanding LITA and to all the needs in Marin, to what Erica said, etc., I think it provides a valuable service.
Yeah, and that's why you're committed to be a good board member.
I like to help people, you know, I'm getting older myself, so I like to help people, you know, not go through some of the things that I experienced with my mother. And, you know, I was there for her, but I know there's a lot of older people that don't have a son nearby. The parents or somebody lives in Marin County and their family has moved to Cleveland, Ohio, for example, for work or whatever, and they're just there. You know, and one of the things that I thought about was, geez, if I couldn't provide for my mother and if I wasn't around to be able to visit her, etc., she might be sitting in a hallway someplace in a wheelchair, you know, like you see sometimes. Yes, and you know, and that's a terrible thing, you know, and so, you know, some of the things Eric has, have a dog come by so you can pet it. These things mean a lot to older people. So
there have to be costs to all of this, and how do you go about funding and what are the costs and how do you go about funding all that?
Well, you know, LITA is funded by donations.
Donations only?
Donations only.
The government doesn't support it?
No, there's no government support. There's no state or city support. So it's an organization, small organization that works with a small budget. Everybody's a volunteer there, except for a couple of part-time paid employees. And so funding is very, very important to provide, you know, a growing need in Marin County for older people. You know, so, you know, contact us. We could certainly use a lot of funding, and who knows, you know, someday you may need LITA, you know, and so funding LITA would be able to provide these extra services for you. So I think it's very important with a growing and aging population in Marin County.
And you probably could use a little bit more money in marketing, couldn't you, to get the word out for that the program exists and also for more volunteers. So that marketing always costs.
Oh yeah.
So you can always use more money for that. You can.
Oh sure.
More than just the people, the couple of people that you need to fund for.
Oh sure. One of the things that happens is that, you know, you may someday need an organization like LITA with a growing aging population, like I said, and so the more funding we can get to grow and to build on this need that keeps building in Marin County, I think is just absolutely essential.
And so if somebody wanted to donate money, they could go to your website and then press donate?
There's a donate tab on the website. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure there would be. You know, Pam Hastley, who's the executive director right here at Novato Community Television, is currently completing her year with the Novato Leadership Program that's championed by the Novato Chamber of Commerce. It's a fabulous program. And one of the several projects that they, this year's class voted on was to support LITA. And that was really nice. So they came out with a professional outreach video. And I think it's only about 5 minutes. Do you think we could watch that now?
That'd be great.
That would be fabulous.
We're really proud of it.
Let's do it. Let's do it right
we're very
now.
proud of that.
For many residents of long-term care facilities, the worst thing isn't their failing health or the cost of care, but loneliness. Many have outlived or live far from their family and friends. Since 1975, LITA, short for Love is the Answer, has worked to end loneliness. among frail, isolated residents of Marin County's skilled nursing, assisted living, and board and care homes.
In Marin County, it's one of the fastest growing aging populations out of the Bay Area. Currently, 1 in 4 people in Marin County are over the age of 60, and they're expecting that that's going to grow to 1 in 3 in the next 15 years. So it is a growing population. It's a population, as you get into the 80s and 90s, becomes quite isolated, whether they're living in a senior community or not. So LITA provides that one-to-one volunteers throughout all of Marin County. The 3 primary programs that we have are the one-to-one volunteers, and then we have pet therapy. So we've got some volunteers that will bring pets, usually dogs, into senior living communities to come visit seniors. And then we have a Bridging Generations. It's an intergenerational group where we've got 8 elementary grade level classes that come in and visit, and they commit to a whole year.
I was hooked from the moment those children walked in. And of course you have your own 2 people that you have each year, and so by the end of the year you're just truly bosom buddies. And I mean, I think I benefit more from them than they do from me. I mean, I hope they do from me, but I know I truly get such pleasure with being with them that it makes it all very worthwhile.
The pet therapy is another really, really positive program. I've said for years, anytime you bring a kid or an animal into a senior living community, people light up, and that really is true. We currently have a program where a volunteer is bringing a dog into our memory care section, and to see that group of residents and their reaction to that dog is just priceless.
I definitely recommend LITA program to other people, and to other people who have pets who are becoming therapy dogs. I really encourage them to look it out because it is such a wonderful program, and we have so many seniors and so many people who are unable to have pets but really miss that in their life. It's something that they really enjoy and feel rewarded, and so it's just a win-win situation for everybody, and I think it's fantastic.
None of our people are paid anything. I mean, the reward to them is when they come in and spend time with their one-on-one friend, and you can just see not only the one-on-one friend radiate, but the volunteer, him or herself, get so much out of this, and it just goes to prove that there are a lot more things important in life than a monetary aspect of it.
This day and age, you know, we're all on social media, and we get a lot of our news from our phones and our computers, and you know, I think we lose that one-to-one connection so often. So being able to take an hour out of our time, or our volunteers' time, an hour out of their week, to come visit with somebody who maybe doesn't have the ability to get out as often, or doesn't have visitors that come as often. Again, you know, that more socially isolated resident, maybe they're dealing with some depression. That one-to-one connection is such an amazing benefit, and we see the changes in those residents after their visit. There's just a sparkle there that maybe they're not going to get from a lot of the other activities that we have. So I'd wholeheartedly encourage anyone who even has an inkling or a desire to do something like this, please give LITA a call. You know, we'd love to have more volunteers. Currently we've got almost 300 volunteers that are going out to visit seniors, and we have a lot more than 300 seniors in the community that could use volunteers. So wholeheartedly encourage people to get involved.
Loneliness is the problem, and love is the answer.
That was excellent. You guys have done a good job on that. You know, I noticed the setting, Eric, was at your place, the Drake Terrace, wasn't it?
Part of it was, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you, you know, George especially was talking about the symptoms, you know, of loneliness, but in a facility situation, how do you identify the loneliness, and how have you addressed that at a place like yours?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do have the perspective of working in a senior living community. And although there are activities, there's 140 residents, there's staff, there's families that come in and visit, loneliness and isolation is still a problem that we battle with. So I've only been on the LITA board for the last 7 months, but we've utilized LITA to help with the lonely residents and the loneliness and the isolation that our residents sometimes experience. We've been using them for years.
How do you identify it, though? I mean, what makes you realize that there's something wrong there?
Yeah, if we've got a resident who's maybe suffering from depression, maybe it's a big move from moving from home to a senior living community, it's a shock. You may have somebody who's got some dementia, somebody that just is becoming more and more isolated. I mean, the average makeup of our resident, 88 years old, widowed, feeling an extreme loss of independence, not a lot of friends around, family may be busy, like George was talking about. So we've got quite a few residents that just really benefit from that one-to-one volunteer, that dedicated hour that they can look forward to each week. That's really one of the ways that we've relied upon LITA to help with some lonely residents. And then the pet therapy, the bridging intergenerational program that we have, really, really valuable assets to dealing with loneliness.
Wow. So you were talking about earlier, you have about 300 volunteers. Whew. How do you go about recruiting them? And George, were you going to talk about that?
Yes, we do have a recruiter, Tanya, who works daily on recruiting people.
Wow,
every day she's there, and she recruits, and you can contact her, and she, can go through the process of recruiting a person. And it's an invaluable service that people who volunteer for LITA offer based on what Erica said and what I said, using my mother as an example.
Are there any special skills you look for in volunteers, or just anybody can walk in?
Well, people can walk in, we do.
Well, I don't mean that literally.
No, I understand. People can walk in, but we look for someone that's compassionate, someone that is caring, someone that will commit to visiting a person on a regular basis. Because what happens is if, like Eric said, if somebody once a week comes in for an hour or two, we'd like to have that consistency. And I think it's important to the person, someone, an elderly person, to look forward to that.
It's Tuesday afternoon. Gloria's going to show up today. I know she's going to be here.
Exactly. So, if you go through at a facility like Eric's and you go through a routine every day, and after a while that routine, I feel, to a person gets, boring maybe. Say, oh, well, what am I going to do today? Sit in the hallway or go play bingo or something. But if they can look forward to somebody coming in and they can change the pace of things and they can have a conversation outside of what are we doing today here at the facility. And I do think that facilities in Marin do offer a lot of great services. They have activities, etc., for people, but then that becomes a routine. And I think that, people want to change that routine, and that's where LITA comes in, where for an hour or two, the routine is changed, and you can talk about anything you want, bring up anything you want, and not know that at 3 o'clock you got to go play bingo, and all that kind of thing. So I think it's very, very good for someone to look forward to changing what they're going to do that day, and talk and do something fresh face, fresh conversation, that kind of thing. That's very important, I feel.
But word of mouth is really how we get our volunteers. So doing a show like this is really important. Really gets LITA out there. As George and I have talked previous to coming on the board, we didn't know a whole lot about LITA. And I don't think a lot of people know about LITA. So having an opportunity to be able to get the word out there and get some interest around it. We've got a fantastic volunteer coordinator. We've got an orientation program. Although we have almost 300 volunteers, there's a lot more people out in the community that could use the services. So please go to the website, and if you're interested, and give us a call, and we'd be happy to set you up with somebody who'd be really open to your visits.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And another thing, to follow up on Eric's point, the more interaction you have with a volunteer, the better off you are, I feel. So instead
as a
resident, and so instead of looking forward to 1 hour a week, maybe they could look forward to 2 hours a week, or whatever, because there's more people out there, and a volunteer can spend more time if there's someone else that can fill another situation. So I think that's very important.
Now, I'm going to go back to fundraising a little bit. You have a big event every year, I understand. So tell me about, who wants to talk about that?
Well, we do have an event in the fall, and we set up a location, and we get some celebrity or some notable person from the Bay Area who can come and MC it, And we had one last fall, which was very successful. And we had Dan Noyes from ABC News, he emceed it, and we had a nice turnout. and it was very successful.
Put me on your invitation list. I want to come.
Hey, absolutely.
We might have to have you MC it next year.
Yeah. So, but these events are I think that we honor people. A lot of people showed up connected with.
Good. The volunteers.
With LITA, and for all the work that they do, everybody likes a pat on the back.
Of course.
And to recognize people and say, hey, look what you're doing, I think is very important.
Yeah. So once again, that website is
www.litamarin.com.
And they can go there, and that's how they would donate money. If they wanted to donate money, anybody watching this could go right to the website and press donate, or they could contact you somehow and make arrangements to send a check or whatever they want to do.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you were going to talk about something else. You it's about your mother.
Yes.
And what was it we were going to say? Did we already say that?
Well, I just like to say that, had I known, not to repeat myself, had I known that there was a organization like LITA, and this kind of show is very important, that's why I volunteered to come over here, just from my personal experience, that I think my mother probably would have been a lot better off not suffering from loneliness, because calling me 3 times a day and asking me if I was going to come over, and she was about 88, 89 at the time, and then what made me cry a little bit was when I had to leave. I had to go back to work or something. I'm a district manager, so I have some free time, but I do have to, get the job done. And then, I could see the look on her face when she didn't want me to leave, and she would offer to take me out to lunch or dinner or something, just so she could be with somebody. And then also, not wanting to go home after Thanksgiving or Christmas because she was there with the family, etc. I think that those kinds of situations could probably be avoided, and can be through organizations like LITA. LITA is really a unique organization where they offer companionship, etc. And I know there's a lot of other organizations. There's a couple of things. What is it? Morning Angels, or they, that go out and visit people. But LITA, is a completely volunteer organization that there's no cost to people unless they want to donate to it, and I think it serves an invaluable service.
Good.
Well, just like you saw in the video that we showed a few minutes ago, where we have a volunteer, Maria, who brings her dog Inga into our memory care. And we have one particular resident who, when she moved into our memory care, she had to give up her 2 cats, which were her life at that time. Really meant a lot to her, and that made the move even more challenging.
Right.
And I know caused some anxiety to her 2 sons. And so being able to bring a pet, like you saw Inga in the video, come in and put her head in Joanne's lap, and get some pets and get some snuggles, I know that meant the world to her, and that really kind of satiated that need to have her pet, and kind of helped with that loss. So again, it's not just the one-to-one volunteers, but even just the pet therapy and the intergenerational programs. There's so many facets to the volunteer work that LITA does. It's just, it's so valuable and important.
So maybe just expand on that a little bit as we sort of wrap up here, and then tell us the whole thing. Just sort of review where we've been and what LITA's all about, and just sort of review the whole thing for us.
Sure, yeah. I mean, again, LITA's a very small nonprofit, as George was saying, and we've got a shoestring of a budget. We've been in operation for just about 42 years. We've got about 300 volunteers that are going into senior living communities, skilled nursing, memory care, assisted living, board and care, and providing that really valuable companionship, helping to deal with some of the problems of isolation and depression. These are long-lasting bonds, and we had a volunteer event where we were honoring our volunteers last year, and to listen to some of the stories, we've got volunteers that have been volunteering with the same person or different people for 10, 15 years.
You're kidding.
There's some really remarkable commitments out there that people have made. It just makes such a valuable difference in the lives of lonely seniors in Marin County. So again, couldn't encourage anybody anymore.
Any age.
Any age.
A volunteer.
Absolutely. We've had parents who bring school-age children in. to do one-to-one volunteers. You know, we've got, any age can come and volunteer for sure.
Good, good. Any last minute thoughts here from you, George?
Well, no, I just feel that having from personal experience, you know, watching my mother and then my dad, you know, he passed away a while back too. He used to be a woodworker. He used to go down to the basement in the house and woodwork all day long, and then he couldn't do it anymore for physical reasons.
That was his.
And that was his thing. And what kept him going was that my mother was there. But if he had been by himself and that was taken away from him, I could have seen a real decline and depression.
What you're saying basically is you got to watch for the signals.
You have to watch for the signals. Exactly, that's a good way to put it. And you know, people do go through stages where they kind of withdraw, and they need someone to bring them back.
Okay.
And somebody that they can look forward to meeting and talking to them. Somebody that's compassionate and kind and willing to listen. You know, because you know, they like. I think people, senior citizens, and I'm getting there myself, like to talk, you know. And so, you know, and I think it's important for them to express themselves and talk and feel like someone's listening to them. That's very important.
Yeah, yeah.
And that somebody cares about them, right? I mean, we as human beings, we need to know that somebody cares about us.
And to feel special.
And to feel special.
And if it's a one-to-one, you're coming there because that one person, they're feeling real special.
Yeah, to get that attention for a dedicated hour once a week is really invaluable.
Well, you know, this is a very interesting program. I've really enjoyed it. I like doing this kind of thing because I learn so much, and you guys have expressed so much, you know, compassion. It comes out in your souls. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And that's Eric Flatt and George Erickson, both of the board members of LITA. Love is the answer. And thank you, Pam Hazley, for the Novato Community Television Executive Director, for bringing us together as part of the Novato Leadership Program and the Novato Chamber of Commerce for this special program. And thank you, Marcus and Nick, for being the television crew from Novato Community Television. But most of all, thank you, the audience.